Good morning everyone, how are you all today? I hope you're enjoying this beautiful time of year as we slip into autumn, or if you're down under, you must be so excited that your spring is finally here. Wherever you are, I hope you're having a great time. It's an absolutely manic time at this time of year for me because, well, for all of us gardeners, the garden needs so much attention, there are harvests to be dealt with in the kitchen, and really exciting at this time of year, we need to start thinking about seed saving for next year. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to save some tomato seeds, and I'm going to show you 3 methods. To me, it's just an eternal joy to plant the tiniest of tiny seeds in spring, to see it turn into a whopping monster of a plant in the summer. I get to stuff my face from its produce, and the plant gives me a seed for next year. What could be better? My entire garden is grown from seed every year, and the majority of it is grown from my own seed. And this year more than ever, I'm going to try and save even more seed. So there'll be a few things later in the year that I'll need to let go to seed. But at this time, my first few seeds are starting to come in, so some of the peas, beans, that sort of thing. And of course, my beloved tomatoes. Can't live without my tomatoes. Now, today I'm going to demonstrate with, and it's so ripe now, I don't want it to fall apart in my hands. This is the Rose de Berne I brought back from France, and I've been letting it sit and get really ripe. So that's what I'll be using today, but I will also be saving seed from my Chadwick cherries and my Gardener's Delight. I've selected a couple of tomatoes from each of those 2 varieties, which I've set aside. I picked them when they were ripe, but well before blight came, so that hopefully I've got fruits giving me seed that are disease-free. Now, I'm going to show you 3 methods, one of which I have never done, and one which I've not done on purpose. So let me explain. We're going to look at the fermentation method, which is the method most people use and the one I use. I'm going to look at what will happen if I just scrub the seeds in water. And the final one, and this is the one that happens every year, but I've never done it on purpose, planned volunteer plants. Simply, rather than letting the tomatoes drop in the bed they are, because I rotate, I'm going to use part of this tomato today with its seeds, and I'm going to bury it in next year's tomato patch, and let's see if I get some volunteers that way. But we'll go to the garden later on to film that bit, so I'll show you then. So, what do we need? Dead simple. Let me just bring you guys in here to show you our bits and pieces. Sorry, a bit of a chat there. Oh, and the obligatory bowl of tomatoes there, waiting for me to bottle them. That'll be my next job of the morning. So I've got, very simply, a sieve, sharp knife, under here, plain glass jar, just any old jar. I also use these covers. It's just like a little bit of lace, but it's got glass beads attached, so that when you pop it over the top, the glass beads weight it down. A saucer with a clean cloth on for drying. Now, you'll often see people talk about, oh, just spread them out on a piece of paper kitchen towel. I don't use paper kitchen towels. I try my very hardest not to use anything that's disposable. So this will suffice. I've got a little pot here ready, little Tupperware pot ready to put my last bit in to take to the allotment. And then finally, of course, my beautiful Rose de Berne, star of the show. So with the fermentation method, let's just get you all back up here. Essentially, we're trying to replicate nature because, let's just see if I can show you on this one. I've just chopped one of the Chadwicks up a bit. They're so little and fiddly. As you're all probably very familiar with. You're going to be able to see that. So you see that the seed is actually encased in a rather gelatinous substance. I hate that word, gelatinous. It gives me the heebie-jeebies. Gelatinous. Within that gelatinous substance, there is a germination inhibitor. This is nature's way of getting the timing right. And in saving seed, in many ways, we're trying to replicate nature as best we can. So if you think about what happens in your tomato patch each year, the fruit gets riper and riper and riper and riper, and there's always going to be one or two you miss. Eventually, it's at its peak of ripeness, it falls off the plant onto the soil. If you don't get it off the soil in time, what happens is that tomato begins to rot. It begins to ferment. During that process, this gelatinous substance, the fermentation helps to break that down and nullifies the inhibitors. The seed comes into contact with the soil, it sits there and it waits till a nice warm day next spring and then says, hell, I know what I'm supposed to do, I'm supposed to grow. So in the absence of nature, that's what we're going to try to replicate. So let us begin with this a bit. I'm going to angle you guys down so you can see what I'm up to. So that's what I was saying about letting this tomato get super, super, super duper ripe. In nature, the way the ripeness it is now, boom, that's going to fall onto the floor. So having your tomato this way up, you're going to cut around the tummy, so not cutting that way as you might if you were making sauce or salad or whatever. We're going to cut around its middle. Oh, it's going to be very sloopy doopy sloppy. Now, which is the bigger half? I know that doesn't make sense. So you can see, oh, look how juicy that is. They're absolutely ready to come. Then over your glass jar, just trying to get it all in. Squeeze all that lovely pulp out. All those gorgeous seeds in it. Gotcha, go on, give it a squeeze. Give it a really good squeeze. Have I got all the seeds? Yeah, looks like. Just wipe my fingers. Now this jar, you're going to set aside somewhere warm but not hot. I actually just leave it in the kitchen because my kitchen's always warm, but generally not hot, not at this time of year anymore. Obviously a month ago it was scorchio. So I'm going to just put the cover on because as this ferments over the next couple of days, it is going to attract the fruit flies, and I don't want the fruit flies in there. So I'm literally going to put it on the end of my counter, out of the way, forget it for a couple of days. We'll come back to it in a couple of days and I'll show you the next step. In the meantime, so I've got this other half now, I'm just going to get that cut in half, and I'm just going to chunk this one up into 4. It's going to be very messy. So this one I'm now going to take to the garden. Oh, I'm losing seeds, look at that. I'm going to take it to the garden. I've prepared a little spot for it already. And this one is going to, well, these 4 chunks will become my volunteer plants for next year, I hope. So that's coming with me in a minute. And now this one, all I'm going to do, I'm going to get everything squeezed out, and then I'm just simply going to run this under the tap, giving it a really good scrudge around, hopefully get some of the gelatinous stuff off, and then spread it out in a tea towel. So let me have a go at that. It's going to be a bit noisy and shushy, so I'm going to pause you guys for a second. So I've given them a really good scrudge around in the sink. I can feel though that there's still a little bit of, it's that G word again, but excuse the banging, hang on. Yeah, actually you can see it more clearly on the cloth. Now, folk have told me that this method works as well. I've not tried this way before, that's why I'm having a go with you guys, but that's why I only did a quart of the tomato, because I really want seeds from this baby. So, if this doesn't work, the fermentation method should work, and that's half of the tomato, so it should give me plenty of seeds. Just sort of spreading them out a little bit. And then what I'll do as these over the next couple of days, well actually I don't think they'll take that long to dry, but I'll just give them a little move and a little flick around on the plate. Oh, beautiful seeds. What I love about this is the potential. I mean, they're so, look, my little fingernail, how tiny that seed is. And that's going to give me a plant that could end up being 8 foot tall and 5 foot wide if I let it do its own thing, with pounds and pounds and pounds of vegetables on. It makes me inordinately happy to save my own seed. Honestly, if you've not saved your own seed before, you're still all down there, aren't you? If you haven't saved your own seed before, have a go. Also, if you're fairly new to growing your own vegetables and this year you've bought vegetables from a nursery, that sort of place, have a go at raising your own seeds. It's joyful. Yes, there will be disappointments. There will be some seeds that don't germinate. But for every single seed that you plant that germinates, you will be so happy, especially if it's one of your saved seeds. Right, this all is going to sit now for a couple of days. I'm going to let it ferment for a couple of days. I didn't add any water, just the pulp, because I don't want to water down those natural juices in there that are going to help with the fermentation process. We'll take the planned volunteer to the garden and plant that, and then we'll come back in a couple of days and deal with the ones in the fermentation jar, and the washed ones should be dry by then, so we can have a look at them too. So, go and have a cup of tea. We'll see you in 2 days. So for the volunteer planting, I've selected my little area. Now, I crop rotate every year, so I'm kind of looking at where this year's tomatoes are, hopping a bed into this bed so I can kind of imagine the sort of spacing. And I've picked my little bit of ground, so let's set to and get these volunteers in the soil. So all I've done in terms of preparation is, this is where the rocking core were, is it's just had a bit of a tickle over, a bit of a weed, and then I had some sort of spent compost from other parts of the garden, so I've just given that a bit of a tickle in too. Now, the really important thing is, don't forget to mark where you're doing them, so that come the winter, because I will be putting green manure probably around a lot of these other areas. Now, I don't really know how deep to do it, but I'm going to guess just enough to plop it in. Now, the law of sod means that these won't work. The volunteers in this year's bed, which will become last year's bed, will work. But if we don't try, we won't know, will we? I'm not filling the holes in yet, because there's a load of juice in the bottom of this that's got seeds in. So I'm going to just tip a few extra into each hole. You didn't get any, did you? And you. Now, give me a bit of a berry. I'm not going to firm it down or anything like that, because if you think about it, when the fruits drop off our plants, we don't bury them, do we? And we don't, we don't press them down, we don't do anything. So that's it, going to leave it. Now, we're not going to know if this works until next April or May, so tune in next year. Did you enjoy your cup of tea? I hope so. In the meantime, the pulp has been fermenting away merrily for, it's actually about 2.5 days now. I wanted to get to it earlier but didn't have the chance. Anyway, it's pretty disgusting, so I'm going to show you. If you've got a weak tummy, look away, because it really is quite horrid. But it's done what it's supposed to do. Isn't that appetising? Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're going to scrape off the worst of that mould from the top of the tomatoes. I'm just going to pull it off with a spoon, excuse me. And then we're going to add the pulp and seeds to another jar, just with some clean water in it. I'll show you that as we get to it. So let's see if we can show you guys this bit. It really is quite disgusting. Just getting the worst of it off. Blech. Don't worry about getting it all off, it's just getting worse. So now, this lot are going to go into the jar of clear water. Actually, I'm just going to get a little bit of water to rinse this one out so we don't miss any bits sitting in the bottom. And now, although the water's not very clear, you might not even be able to see. I'm going to let it just settle for a minute because it's all whooshing around. What will happen now is the good seeds will sink to the bottom. There they go, I can see them. So I'm just very carefully going to tip the top sort of scummy stuff off, then drain the rest through the sieve and give them a really good wash out. Let me go and do that in this sink. Carefully. So I'm just going to see, you might not pick up, but the good seeds have settled to the bottom. All this around the top is just pulp and froth and yuckiness from the fermentation. Okay, so I've taken the worst of the scum off the top, tipped it out, given them another little whoosh of clean water. So now we should be able to see more clearly how the good seeds have settled on the bottom. So literally now all I'm going to do is shove them in the sieve, give them a really good wash out under the tap, and then pop them on here to dry. So they've had their rinse under the tap, and I think you can see, say in comparison to the ones that I just washed, how these are just seed. There's no sort of stickiness to them, there's none of that gelatinous horribleness. So let's just get them tipped out. Spread them out a bit to dry. I'm just going to show you these close up as a comparison to the ones that just got washed. So you can see, you can see that's just seed, no jelly stuff around them. I'm just reaching over to bring, these are nice and dry now. This is the lot that were washed under the tap, just washed. And you can see there's still little bits clinging. So I will sow both lots come the spring. As I said, I haven't tried this method before, I'm not as hopeful about it. This is what I would normally like to do, the fermentation method, and they're lovely clean seeds, so they won't take long to dry. I'll give them a couple of days and then they'll get put in their packets, ready for storing over the winter, and more importantly, ready for me to get excited about sowing next year. So have a go at saving your own seed. This method, the fermentation method, you can use that with your squash seeds, your cucumber seeds as well. Any of those seeds that have got that, you know, the G word coating, give it a go with. But more than anything, just have a go at saving your own seeds. And even if you can't save your own seeds, maybe one of your neighbours might give you a few. The main thing is have a go at growing your veg from seed. It's so much cheaper than buying plants from a nursery, and I think it's just infinitely more satisfying. Whatever you're doing, whatever you're having a go at, have fun with it, and it's okay if things don't work the first time. You just have another go. Just have fun with it. I will say cheerio for now. Hopefully I'll see you again all really soon, but in the meantime, take care and happy seed saving!